Boker Tov. Good morning. We continue our journey together in Chayes Sarah, in the life of Sarah. That was 100 year, 20 year, and 7 years. This is the years of the life of Sarah. So we explained why um, each year has its specified unique amount. It's not all one number. Because I guess you would call it the human condition human condition is, and everything has its, I guess, if you will, its virtue, its highlight. And as um, you you bring down from the hierarchy of life, of the soul, of the world, um, there's an appreciation of each level or each aspect of us and of life. Meaning there's something about 100 separate from 20, separate from 7. They're unified because one comes and flows into the other. So in the soul, there's something about the transcendence of the soul that expresses itself in the will of a person, that now develops into the um, mental capacity, the intelligence of the individual. So 100 is right, is beyond. 20 is two aspects of intelligence, of Chachma Bina, this understanding, whereas will 10 times 10 is a completion, the all encompassing, which that's what will is, all encompassing. And then you have 7 years, um, which is the idea. It plays itself in the numeric value also, right? You have the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. Ones are 7 ones. They're singular as the emotions. Right? The emotions is where we have the ups and downs in life. We could see with our intelligence. Our intelligence can be very not encompassing is the right word because that would be more will, but in a sense it is. There can be a equanimity in perception and in your mind. But when it comes to the emotions, that's where you have the ups and downs because each one is singular in its emotion. So it's the ones, the tens, and the hundreds. And that's why 7 years in plural, because the emotions are the plurality in us. And that's where the refinement needs to take place. So you have the hierarchy. There's each one has a uniqueness and a specialness in the soul. And likewise, in understanding God and creation, there is the name Havaya, like in a blessing, right? the name Havaya, the tetragrammaton, that's beyond, right? In that name is spelled the Yud and a Hey and above and a Hey. You have Ayahoivavia, past, present, and future. Those words are made up in those letters, different combination, but right in one name, meaning God the way he is transcendent of the world. Then you have Elokeinu, which is plural, God within the world, eminence of God. And then you have the way God is king. King is only of things that are separate from the king that he becomes king over, which is then, of course, is God king over the smartphone, meaning is this physical thing of this world, which is animated by klipa, is it under the rulership of God, or is it, like so many people today, addictive and separate from God? Right? That's where God becomes king, is in the things of our lives, meaning that we use it in a manner that is aligned with the divine purpose. So, you know, in that respect, there's something about God being transcendent. There's something about God's immanence. Each one has a uniqueness. And then of God, um, with, being revealed in Klippa. Klippa meaning the shell that covers over of the divine, and God's presence is found there, right? So again, 3 dimensions. Um, and each one has its uniqueness. But then there is, as we went at length yesterday, of the way things, there's an equanimity, there's an equalness, there's no distinction between the 100, the tens, and the ones. There's no distinction between the will, my will, and my intelligence and my emotions. There's no distinction between the way God is transcendent or immanent or of klipa. There's no distinction. It's all the same. How so? Well, from the perspective of the human condition, the perspective of me, of course there's distinction. But the perspective of what God wants, he wants a dwelling place in this world. He wants to dwell in my intelligence, in my heart, and in my things. There's no distinction. It's all the same. There's no distinction between higher or lower. Whatever he wants in that moment. That's what right. And that's already like, that's already a much more difficult divine service. In a sense, there's no me there. Why? Because it comes from bittul. It comes from self-effacement. If it's about me, so then there's a hierarchy in me. If it's about God's presence, there's a hierarchy in God's presence, right? Trent, there's the miracle, there's nature, and then there is klipa, right? There's distinction. But that's, the human condition, and that's when it's based on me. So there'll be a higher and a lower. You know, things that you feel more, you know, attached to, things that you feel less connected to in your divine service, right? But when it comes to what God wants from God, from the core of God, there's no distinction. Right now, he wants this. in half an hour, he wants that. In an hour and a half, he wants the other thing. How does he want it each time? Complete. Not, by God, it's all the same. Oh, this he really wants. But no. This mitzvah, like, no. The mitzvah is an expression of him. So he wants it all. Right? It's a little hard to wrap our minds around it. I gave a metaphor, and it's not such a great metaphor because we're human, and in the human condition, there is something more important in our lives and things that are less important in our lives. You know, so when for the mitzvah of honoring the parent, right, to give a glass of water or to take the parent to take your parent to a doctor's visit that takes 3 hours, not 30 seconds of like getting a glass of water. So in the effort of the child for the parent, of course, there's a much greater effort. But for what the parent wants in the moment, right? They need that glass of water. So it doesn't matter that it takes you, it's no effort, it's effortless. It takes you 30 seconds. And the other one took you, 3 hours of, taking off in the middle of the day, going to work, from going to work and taking your, to an appointment. From the desire, the need. Now, I mean, there can also be distinction, but in a very absolute sense, well, parent needs this now, needs that later. Yes, if you're asked the parent, okay, if I only had choice for one, okay, so maybe not. God forbid they couldn't get the water themselves because they were, whatever, not capable. I'm trying to find a good metaphor, which is not so good in the human condition, because the human condition, there's a distinction. But from the divine perspective, they're all equal. I hope you get the idea. Now, this then becomes what the verse is coming to tell us. Remember, we had a question. This is the life of Sarah, 100-year, 20-year, 7 years, right? Oh, okay. Why the distinction? Because each one has its value. There's a hierarchy. There's the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. There's, in the makeup of the soul, in the makeup of the world, right? There's a higher and lower. But then the verse ends, these are the years of the life of Sarah. Redundant. Rashi explains it, and he says, Kulam lataiba, that they're all equal, all equally good. So this is then the first level that we spoke about, the hierarchy, right? Is the first 127. Now, when we make reference to the life, these are the years of the life of Sarah, it's speaking about the years, but how's it speaking about it? All of them equal. They're all good. That's what Rashi explains on the redundancy of the words, is to tell us they're all equally good. So on this level that we're speaking in the mystical meaning of the verse, meaning they're all good, they're all equal, there isn't distinction. Meaning it's the divine service, as we said, where whatever aspect of your soul is needed now in the service of God, whatever it takes, whatever it is, whatever it is. So there'll be an equalness and hence an equanimity in everything, because it's all about what God needs. It's not about what I have from it and how I grow from it and right? And we have both of them because both things are true, right? Both aspects of divine service are necessary. This, so to speak, deeper one, excuse me, comes from a deeper place. Just like my sneeze, a deeper place where there is no distinction. Well, where is there no distinction is in the core of your soul. And because the core of your soul comes from the core of God, that's a part of God. And therefore, for that level, it's all good, right? Life is all good. You're all equally good. Kulam Shabbalataiva, they're all equally good. How do you touch a place that's equally good? Well, that's the core of your soul, as opposed to the will, the intelligence, or the emotions, right? Those are aspects of your soul. There's a hierarchy there. There's an order there. But the core of your soul touches the core of God. God wants it all, right? A dwelling place for him in this world equally, from the most insignificant thing to the most significant thing. So, for example, you know, there's in Jewish law, it brings about how to put on your shoes. Put your right shoe first, because that's chesed, then you put on your left shoe, that's gevura. But you tie up the left shoe first, because tying is restraining, and gevura is restraining. And then you tie your right shoe. Now, if someone were to come to ask me, Rabbi, is this like the first mitzvah I should do? I say no. From a human perspective, first mitzvah is maybe tie yourself with tefillin, maybe, um, keep kosher, you know, if someone were to come to ask me, because is there a hierarchy? Yeah, in the human condition, yes, there is. But in absolute terms, right? In the moment that I'm putting on my shoes, forget about, looking back of like, what I should do. That's all taken in about me. But in the moment, putting on my shoes, this is what God wants. It's a simple act. It's a difference. So, like, if it's a simple act coming from the emotional, so I'm not really emotionally attached to it so much, Sometimes I'm not so aware, so I'm not thinking, and I don't do it that way. What's the big deal? Yeah, okay. There's a truth to that in the hierarchy of things. But in that moment, if it's not about you, if it's about what God needs from you in that moment, well, that's what he needs from you to put on your shoes that way. So you just give yourself over totally. That's what it means. This is the life of Sarah, that it's all equal, all equally good, all equally a part of the divine plan, all equally what God wants. The next moment I'm gonna, give help out somebody who is in great need, came to me and said, Rabbi, I can't make my payment for my monthly payment for rent. I need some help. And the hierarchy of things, that's a lot more important than putting on your shoes, the way you put on your shoes. You and so for that you're really giving over, right? On a human level, yeah, I get that, of course. And maybe if that person was right in front of me when I'm tying my shoes, so I would, do that very quickly and maybe not, but in absolute terms, right now, there's this. What's needed from me? Give yourself over. Now, this is what's needed from me. This person is standing before me and asking me for help. There's no difference. They're all equally good. They're all equally important. They're all equally about divine service. That was the last words of the verse. Chaya, the years of the life of sorrow. So in the verse, we have both ways to serve because we need both. We need the transcendence, or we need the human condition where there's a hierarchy, there's a distinction, and we need the transcendence that it's not about me. And it comes from that level, right? From the core of my soul, coming from the core of God, which means that's bittul to get there, self-effacement. Because in the core of my soul, all I have is a divine soul that wants to be connected to God and do what God wants. That's all there is. Powerful. Powerful. Got it? Yeah? We're good, folks?
Yes, thank you, Rabbi.
Everybody else? Yeah? All right.